Next on Currents News, world leaders on stage all day at the United Nations making speeches. President Trump hit on several topics important to Catholics.
He covered abortion, religious freedom, and immigration during that UN speech. I'm Emily Druby, and details are ahead.
The results are in, and Catholic school students are thriving in the classroom. I'm Tim Harfman, and I'll tell you how children in the Brooklyn Diocese scored on their standardized testing, and how they did compared to students in public and charter schools. That's coming up.
Plus, a severe new persecution of Catholics in China. The communists are tearing down the 10 Commandments. The news starts right now.
We in America believe that every child, born and unborn, is a sacred gift from God.
President Trump declaring to the United Nations a key Catholic teaching. Good evening, I'm Tamara Lane. The sanctity of life, just one of the issues Trump highlighted during his address to the General Assembly. Currents News' Emily Druby is standing by with the story. Emily?
Tamara, the president highlighted several issues important to Catholics, including religious freedom. He also discussed other hot topics like the China trade war and intensifying tensions with Iran. The eyes of the world's leaders are on the president as he arrives at the UN for his highly anticipated speech. The commander-in-chief did talk about tensions with Iran and the trade war with China. He also spoke about issues that are critical to Catholics, following up on his historic meeting yesterday as the first sitting president ever to host a session at the UN on religious freedom.
This fundamental right is under growing threat around the world. Hard to believe, but 80% of the world's population lives in countries where religious liberty is in significant danger or even completely outlawed.
The sanctity of life, born and unborn, a dominant theme for the president as he criticized the UN for promoting abortion.
We are aware that many United Nations projects have attempted to assert a global right to taxpayer-funded abortion on demand, right up until the moment of delivery. We in America believe that every child, born and unborn, is a sacred gift from God.
Trump also taking on one of the top issues of his presidency, illegal immigration. He vowed again to secure the U.S. southern border and warned migrants against becoming the prey of human traffickers.
Do not put yourself in danger. Do not put your children in danger, because if you make it here, you will not be allowed in.
The president added that those calling for open borders are engaging in cruel policies. While the president's speech was heavily focused on domestic policies, he defended the U.S. tariffs he slapped on China, sparking a trade war. He labeled Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro a dictator while praising talks with North Korea's Kim Jong-un, the president hoping they'll lead to the denuclearization of the peninsula. Trump devoted a major portion of his remarks to the tensions with Iran, calling the Islamic Republic one of the greatest security threats facing peace-loving nations. He called on other countries to join the U.S. in isolating the regime through economic sanctions.
No responsible government should subsidize Iran's bloodlust.
The president also criticized censorship on social media, bragged about America's low unemployment rate, and said the future belongs with patriots, not globalists. In Queens, Emily Druby, Currents News. Back to you, Tamara.
Emily, what else was on Trump's agenda today besides his speech?
So he did meet with UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Now, during his speech earlier in the day, he said that he's ready to work on a trade agreement with Great Britain for when they leave the European Union next month. Trump also met with India's Prime Minister. That seemed to go well. He called him a good friend. Tamara?
Thank you, Emily. President Trump faced a bevy of reporters with questions when he arrived at the UN this morning. The hot topic, the calls by Democrats for impeachment over how Trump handled a telephone call with Ukraine's president.
It's a witch hunt. I'm leading in the polls. They have no idea how they stop me. The only way they can try is through impeachment. This has never happened to a president before. There's never been a thing like this before. It's nonsense. And when you see the call, when you see the readout of the call, which I assume you'll see at some point, you'll understand.
The Democrats in Congress are claiming that the president blocked aid to Ukraine while demanding the country investigate former Vice President Joe Biden. Trump denies the allegations. Late today, he authorized the release of the call's transcript by tomorrow. That's also when he'll meet Ukraine's president at the UN. And in Washington, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a formal impeachment inquiry of the president. Pope Francis is also sending a message to the world leaders gathering at the United Nations. He doesn't think they're doing enough to fight climate change.
Es necesario preguntarse si existe una verdadera voluntad política para destinar mayores recursos humanos, financieros y tecnológicos a fin de mitigar los efectos negativos del cambio climático y ayudar a las poblaciones más pobres y vulnerables, que son las que más lo sufren.
The Holy Father warns that climate change is an emergency, but that there is still time to stop a disaster. Turning now to great news in the Brooklyn Diocese about Catholic education. The latest test scores are out, and there are reasons to celebrate. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports on what the Catholic students and their teachers have achieved.
It is 6. Questions on this?
Fractions can be frightening for students, especially when it comes to taking tests.
I was very nervous about it. I thought I was not going to do very well because I'm not really good with standardized tests, but I thought it was fairly easy.
7th grader Cami Munoz and other students across the Brooklyn Diocese did well on the statewide math and English exams. New test scores are in, and Catholic academies outperformed public schools in both math and English. In the statewide system, a grade of 3 or higher on a 4-point scale is rated excellent. On the English exam, 54% of 4th grade Catholic students were excellent, compared to 49% of public school students. 59% of 6th graders in the diocese scored the high grades, compared to 48% in public classrooms. In math, 51% of Catholic Academy 4th graders hit excellent, compared to 49% in public schools. 6th graders in Catholic and public schools got the same score of excellence, 43%. Hania Upton's daughter is applying to high schools.
She did so well that we're looking at schools that we didn't even consider before because these scores are so good.
She noticed a big difference in state test scores from when her child was in public school.
Within the first year, her math score went up 25 points on the Terra Novas. So right away, I knew I had made the right decision.
Superintendent of Schools for the Brooklyn Diocese, Dr. Tom Chadzuko, says a key part to the success: one-on-one instruction.
It's essential that we meet the children where they are, give them an opportunity to develop and move at their pace.
Educators use hands-on technology like smartboards and iPads, making tests for students like Cami easy.
I understood most of the material that we were given, and also we kind of practiced with all of our classes, like for the state tests.
But the education goes beyond the grade.
It's a test score, and whether we did good or we did worse, at the end of the day, are we meeting the needs of the children entrusted to us?
All to build a foundation for the future. Tim Harfman, Currents News.
A Jesuit high school is getting its Catholic identity back, at least for now. Bree Buff Jesuit Prep School in Indiana was stripped of its religious recognition by the Archbishop of Indianapolis, Charles Thompson. He acted after the school refused to fire a teacher in a same-sex marriage. The Jesuits appealed to the Vatican. Now, the Holy See is suspending, at least temporarily, the Archbishop's order until it has a chance for a full review. Bree Buff is resuming all school masses in the meantime. Notre Dame University is releasing a major report on sexual harassment in U.S. seminaries. The findings show 6% of seminarians nationwide reported experiencing some form of misconduct. In nearly all cases, the harasser was identified as another seminarian or a religious information. The research was conducted by the university's McGrath Institute and the Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate. Notre Dame is holding a forum on the sexual abuse crisis in the Catholic Church. The event is part of the university's year-long project entitled Rebuild My Church: Crisis and Response. The look at where we are now will be televised on Monday, September 30th at 7:30 on Net TV right after Currents News. It will be moderated by Crux editor John Allen. The vaping crisis is claiming another victim. A ninth person is dead tonight. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are holding new hearings about the dangers of using e-cigarettes, especially by young people. Nadia Romero reports the latest from Washington.
I'm joining the movement of moms who is parents against vaping e-cigarettes and saying enough is enough. Our kids should not be the guinea pigs.
Ruby Johnson speaking today in front of a House subcommittee on the dangers of vaping. The CDC warns just don't do it. Recent deaths sparking strong words from lawmakers too.
When a product is released onto the market without safety testing or clinical trials, this is what we fear.
The long-term health effects remain unknown, but that didn't stop lawmakers from sending a scathing letter to the FDA about Juul, a major brand of e-cigarettes, warning the FDA that the company appears to be violating its regulations by claiming its product is safer than cigarettes. Juul is expected to respond next week. But earlier this month, the president of American Vaping Association defending the use of flavored products and pushing back on an all-out ban on vaping.
There is absolutely some inappropriate marketing in this industry. And when you can actually have regulations, not prohibition, you can control flavor names, you can control packaging. But the fact is, that gets ignored all too often in this debate, fruit flavors are the most popular flavor among adults and, most importantly, the most used flavor among adults who have quit smoking with vaping.
But that explanation doesn't do enough for Ruby Johnson, a parent who's seen the harmful effects of e-cigarettes.
If this was romaine lettuce, the shelves would be empty. We desperately need our legislators to help us by banning the flavors that have drawn in youth like my daughter, including mint and menthol.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, Currents News.
In China, Christian churches are being ordered to take down displays of the Ten Commandments and replace them with quotes from Chinese President Xi Jinping, ordered according to reports. This comes after churches were previously told to remove the first commandment, stating, "You shall have no gods before me." Those who've refused to remove the commandments have been imprisoned. Now, instead of the Ten Commandments, the church quotes on display promote socialism. There's a lot more news headed your way. Puerto Rico is being hit with a twin punch of natural disasters. The earth moved and winds began to blow. The wife of a man who drowned in Houston says she knows he's safe at home with the Lord. Mobilizing for Mother Cabrini, the man leading the charge will be here in a few moments. Puerto Rico is on high alert tonight. A dangerous storm is inundating the island with torrential rain. Just hours ago, Tropical Storm Karen hit the U.S. territory. Forecasters are predicting heavy rains and gusty winds will lash Puerto Rico for the next few days. A magnitude 6 earthquake hit the island overnight and was followed by 3 aftershocks. No deaths and little damage has been reported. When Tropical Storm Imelda slammed into Houston, it dumped the most rain on the area since Hurricane Harvey. 5 people died in the natural disaster. Myra Moreno reports that the wife of a man who drowned is certain her husband is in a better place.
56-year-old Raul Eliseo Rivas Hernandez was a man of faith. Scriptures in his home, the Bible always nearby for him and his wife to read.
My husband he loved the Lord. He loved the Lord.
His wife, Irma Rivas, is at peace now. But at the height of Imelda Thursday and the days thereafter, she could not control the rush of emotions.
She was crying like a baby, shaking.
On Thursday morning, she begged her husband of 25 years not to go to work that day, but he insisted that he would be okay. Then at about noon, she called him one more time.
Honey, come back home. Come back home. And my husband told me, I call you back. He never called me back. Never called me back.
The Harris County Sheriff's Office said that Rivas Hernandez attempted to drive the van he was in through Will Clayton Parkway, but the vehicle sank in about 8 feet of water. The family found out the following day that he had passed away.
Él me decía que yo era una su sobrina especial para él.
He used to tell me all the time that I was his very special niece, she said. The entire family is heartbroken and devastated, but their faith is helping them heal.
Now I'm happy because I know he go in best place. He going home. He went home with the Lord.
Myra Moreno filing that report from Houston. Raul was not only a husband and father, he was also a cancer survivor. His funeral service will be conducted tomorrow. Turning now to a New York story about continuing a family legacy. Today was graduation day at the city's fire academy. Among the 301 graduates, 13 are children of firefighters who passed away on 9/11. Another 6 are the sons of first responders who died from 9/11 related illnesses. Fire Commissioner Dan Nigro says there have never been an FDNY class with this many children related to 9/11. He adds that the newest members of New York's bravest are making the city proud. The city is making a big push to locate thousands of former students, staff, and teachers who were near Ground Zero on that fateful day. The Department of Education is urging 19,000 students to apply to the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund so they can be on guard against dangerous illnesses related to 9/11. According to a DOE spokesperson, letters will be sent to the students' last known address in the upcoming weeks. Mother Cabrini is one of the most famous New Yorkers of all time. City residents overwhelmingly voted to build a statue in her honor as part of a project called She Built NYC. Despite the landslide for the patron saint of immigrants, the city's not putting up a Cabrini statue. John Heyer is the lay coordinator for the Italian ministry in the Brooklyn Diocese. He joins us now. John, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you lobbied for Mother Cabrini to have a statue, and despite the fact that she won in a landslide, a statue is not being built in her honor. Now, putting that aside for just 1 minute, can you tell me why do you believe that Mother Cabrini deserves a statue over other New York City saints and religious women?
Well, I think Mother Cabrini has a great universality about her, right? We're Catholic, which means universal. And Mother Cabrini's story as an immigrant, coming from another place in order to serve other immigrants, people like herself, is a story that I think is timeless. If we look in the Gospels, we have parables that Jesus taught us, and there are stories that are timeless, that could be applied to our life. Mother Cabrini's story, her life, can also be applied to our own life and our own times today, which really makes her story one of America as an immigrant, of being Catholic, as someone who serves the gospel, as someone who finds their strength in Jesus, which is something she always said, and just as a woman who showed great tenacity and strength, being able to do as much as she did as just one person.
Now, there are many statues around New York City and the Brooklyn area with Mother Cabrini's name on them. Why does this statue matter?
Well, you know, this statue in this competition was an opportunity, the city said, to recognize women in statuary publicly in the city. So while other groups, maybe the Catholic Church or Italian American organizations, had honored Mother Cabrini in different ways, the city was actually putting out there the idea that the city needed to recognize women for the role that they played in the city. And so that's why it was significant for people to go on to nominate Mother Cabrini and for her to have a statue that is representative of not just the Catholic faith honoring her as a saint, but New York City recognizing her for the contribution she has made as a woman and as an immigrant to the city.
On that note, some people are saying that the First Lady as well as the campaign snubbed Mother Cabrini by not choosing her for a statue. What is your ministry doing on her behalf?
So the Italian Apostolate is forming a fund, and the fund is meant to raise money to have a public statue made in the likeness and in honor of Mother Cabrini. Now the idea is that it still be a public statue. So we are still working with the city in order to find a space that would be suitable and that they would be agreeable to, but we're doing it in conjunction with the people who voted for her, the people who believe that she should be honored in a public way, to raise those monies.
The Italian ministry is also organizing a march. Can you tell me the details on that?
Sure. So on October 6th will be the annual celebration of the Italian ministry of the diocese. This year we've decided to dedicate that procession in honor of Mother Cabrini. And so we'll be leaving from Mother Cabrini Park, which is located on President Street in downtown Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn, and will be processing to Sacred Heart St. Stephen Church, the parish that Mother Cabrini worked in and established her school in here in the diocese, for a Mass at 4 o'clock, which will be celebrated for the intention of all immigrants, as Mother would have wanted us to.
Do you think this march will have an impact on educating New Yorkers and city officials on the impact that Mother Cabrini had on the area?
Well, you know, our intention is really to honor Mother Cabrini. It's obvious that the public would like to honor her. It's obvious that her story still resonates today, especially in our times when we're talking about immigration so much. And so the Italian apostolate and the bishop along with that have decided that we should listen to the people. The people have voted and we should listen to them. And so Mother Cabrini will be honored in this way. Hopefully that does resonate. And like the Gospels say, you know, harden not your heart, but try to have other people understand through love and through teaching. And perhaps our testimony of marching through the streets of Brooklyn will perhaps be able to sway the ideas of some people on the committee or someone in the city to allow us to be able to do this.
Okay, please keep us updated.
Will do.
John Heyer, the lay coordinator for the Italian ministry in the Brooklyn Diocese, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Bishop DiMarzio is planning to take action to honor the patron saint of immigrants. He's working with Brooklyn's borough president, Eric Adams, to get a new statue of Mother Cabrini erected, hopefully in front of Borough Hall. The bishop is outlining the plan in his column that will appear in the next edition of the tablet. The bishop says the statue could be built with voluntary contributions to the Catholic Foundation for Brooklyn and Queens. He's urging anyone who wishes to donate to go to cfbq.org/Cabrini statue. A new show is about to debut, one Catholics may want to watch. It's called Evil, and it pushes the boundaries between science and religion. The Catholic Sheen Center in Manhattan gave Currents News and some lucky viewers a sneak peek and the opportunity to talk with the series creator.
The show's an acknowledgement of original sin, so it's not just looking at evil with a capital E, you know, the possessions, the exorcisms. It's trying to be very unlike the movie or the TV show The Exorcist. It's kind of looking at evil in all its forms, or in its daily forms.
The show follows a psychologist, a seminarian, and a contractor who team up to investigate the church's backlog of unexplained mysteries, like miracles and demonic possessions. It premieres on CBS at 10 o'clock at night this Thursday. Still to come on Currents News, why a church is telling the thief who stole an air conditioner that he's going to need it. One thief is in hot water after he took a brand new air conditioning unit from an Ohio church, not just with law enforcement, but with God. That's the message Pastor Gus Brown displayed on a sign of the Akron Alliance Fellowship Church. It reads, "Whoever stole our AC unit, keep it. It's hot where you're going." The new air conditioner was only in for a few days before the thief swiped it, but Pastor Brown hopes the robber will repent and the church sign will give him a wake-up call he needs.
Staying on this path is going to lead you one place, and that's, we don't want you to go there. Our desire is to see him even come to church here.
The church plans to have a special collection Sunday to raise money to buy a new AC. That's Currents News. I'm Tamara Lane. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.